It's March 1st, and a Tar Heel fan is talking about football?
You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ, the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, man, I thought it was the perfect time, March 1st, as we flip over the calendar and spring practice is surprisingly less than 3 weeks away, that we will talk about some of the questions, concerns, maybe expectations that I, Russ the Tar Heel, have heading into spring practice. And don't forget, man, it's crazy that the spring football game is less than 2 months away already, April 20th. So before we get into it, dude, do me a favor, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel because it's going to help you stay up to date with everything that's happening within the North Carolina program from a fan's perspective. So, like I said, the plan for this video is to briefly touch on some concerns, expectations, and just some questions, man. Just positing some questions, even though we're in the stretch run of basketball season. And I think, obviously, the first things first is all eyes are going to be on the quarterback situation. I don't think that surprises any North Carolina football fan, right? Now, since 2019, obviously with Sam Howell, he won that battle, takes the reins, gives us 3 really good years, some fun football, one of the greatest UNC quarterbacks of all time. And then he's followed up by Drake May, who does the same thing for 2 years. So basically for 5 years, man, we've kind of known what we were getting. A 4 or 5 star guy that, everyone was expecting to be really good. And that's what we got. We got 5 years of really good quarterback play. I think this year's a little bit different, man. It's kind of uncharted territory in the Mac Brown era in that we kind of have, an unproven, Connor Harrell and a kind of injury prone, if you will, not to knock him because I'm a big fan of both of these guys, but Max Johnson, and those are going to be the 2 main guys that we'll talk about. But we'll talk about that real quick here in a second because gone is the 2022 ACC Player of the Year, Drake May, right? The guy that made first team All-ACC in 2022, the guy that made second team All-ACC in 2023, he's gone. He declared for the NFL draft, and obviously we wish him nothing but the best. I hope he gets drafted super high because he did a lot for the North Carolina program. But it's crazy because we are kind of in uncharted territory. So where do the Tar Heels stand currently at the quarterback position? Well, right now there's currently 5 quarterbacks on UNC's 2024 roster. There's redshirt freshman and former 4-star Tad Hudson, who was the number 146 player in his class according to the ESPN 300. You have freshman DJ Mazzone, grad student Max Johnson, like we just talked about, who was a former 4-star recruit and the son of Brad Johnson, who was a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Then you have sophomore Connor Harrell, who was a former 3-star prospect, and 247's number 10 ranked dual threat quarterback in his class. And lastly, you have incoming freshman Michael Merdinger, who is a former 3-star prospect. The 2, however, like we were talking about, that Tar Heel Nation is really expecting to battle it out for the starting position. That's going to be Max Johnson and Connor Harrell. So the real question is, and what I'm going to be looking forward to, watching this battle play out and leading up to spring practice is, can Connor Harrell capitalize and even improve on his Duke's Mayo Bowl game where he went 18 for 27 with 199 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He also had 25 yards rushing on 17 carries for 1.5 yards per carry, which is obviously the average after you adjust for the sacks. And you know what? The simple fact of the matter is the kid was under constant duress in the bowl game, and you kind of saw some of his youth start to play out as he started to anticipate the pressure, man. He showed great burst as an athlete, and he made some really good throws before he got injured about midway through that bowl game, but he stuck it out and played it through. He's definitely an athlete. He definitely has a big arm, the ball jumps out of the kid's stinking hand, man. But you also saw his youth and a lack of game experience a few times in the pocket where he really did get happy feet and he took his eyes from downfield, anticipating the pressure. So, like I said, man, yes, his blocking was not good in the bowl game, but you could still see him trying to work through that feel process. And that's just, it's real typical of young quarterbacks. No doubt about it. It's not like it was just, Connor Harrell. A lot of young guys at the college level, they're going to have to work through that. That's something that I'm looking forward to seeing, going through spring practice and then going into the spring football game, man. It's going to be real interesting to see his growth during that time. Or the question is, will the SEC veteran Max Johnson, who has been the guy at both LSU and Texas A&M, come in and take the keys to the UNC offense? Now, Max is 474 of 784 for 5,582 yards passing and 47 touchdowns with a 60.5 completion percentage over his 4-year college career. He's played at LSU and he's played at Texas A&M, right? But he hasn't been able to necessarily stay healthy. But Max Johnson has done pretty well against some formidable SEC opponents, man. So he's played against really good competition. Now, he struggled with injuries, staying healthy in each of his 4 years, but it's largely in part to how physical this kid plays the game, man, sometimes to his own detriment. Max has been known to be more of a game manager, if you will, but it's because the kid will literally sit in the pocket and wait another half second to let a receiver get open, and he'll take the hit in the chest because he is a bigger guy. He's not nearly the athlete that Harrell is, and I don't think he's got as much zip on the ball as Harrell does, but he is a bigger guy that can really put the ball downfield while taking a shot. It's just important to note, he does have 2 years of eligibility remaining, and you wonder why he would come here if he wasn't kind of told, like, hey, bro, this is kind of yours to lose, So another question that I think you got to ask yourself pertaining to the quarterback situation is which one of these guys actually fit North Carolina's offense? And then you have to go back to what is North Carolina going to try to do? Because I would say that if you were to plug and play and the offense that Drake May ran, then, I think that would probably be a no-brainer. It's going to be Connor Harrell with the read option and all of those different intricate things that you can do within that spread air raid offense. But I'm really wondering if Max wasn't brought in because North Carolina is going to slightly change their offensive mindset. And I'll get into why I think that in just a second. The fact of the matter is this. Brown and his staff went out into the transfer portal and they brought in a lot of hog mollies, if you will, right? Offensive lineman Austin Blasky from Georgia, 6'5", 310 pounds. Howard Sampson from North Texas, just a mammoth of a man, 6'8", 325 pounds. Georgia Tech offensive lineman Ja'Kiah Leftwich, 6'6", 311. And then you have the offensive lineman Zach Greenberg from Muhlenberg College, 6'4", 290. Bro, that's a ton of meat. That's a ton of meat that you brought in. And then you couple that with the return of offensive lineman Zach Rice, 6'5", 305. Jonathan Adorno, 6'4", 315. Malik McGowan, 6'5", 325. And Trayvon Green, 6'7.5", 340 pounds, returning to include the pit bull that is Willie Lampkin, who most people think is going to slide to the center position, which is, I think, basically what he played at Coastal Carolina. So you got a ton of size in those trenches. And even though Carolina's pass protection last year was like a D-, their run blocking was pretty daggone good because you had O'Marion just absolutely torch people almost every game of the season. So you got to ask yourself, man, what is the reason for all this meat down there in the trenches that was brought in? And with the addition of 6', 220-pound running back Darwin Barlow out of Southern Cal to back up the already 6', 220-pound junior All-American O'Marion Hampton, it's looking to me like UNC is going to transition into more of an offense that wants to assert itself in the run game, kind of like a bully ball, bro. Just bully you down the field and set up the play action pass. And I think that Max Johnson would actually fit pretty well in that situation, because that's a lot of what you see kind of in the SEC right now as well. We might even see some more 2 tight end sets with John Copenhaver and newly acquired tight end Jake Johnson, who just so happens to be Max Johnson's brother, right? And we already know what Nesbitt can do. With the beefed up offensive line, thick, muscular backs, bro, and still one of the best tight end groups in the country, do you close it down a little bit? Do you keep it in tight? Do you kind of pound the football, man, play action pass and protect your defense? I don't know, man. But I think that, you might be seeing that coming to Kenan Stadium near you. Now, another question is, something that I'm looking forward to is, who is the receiver that's going to replace Tez Walker as the deep threat? Now, me personally, despite him not being necessarily a burner, my man J.J. Jones was pretty lethal down the field while Walker was ineligible in the first 4 games of the season, right? He had a couple of catches over 50 yards. And while he didn't score, very many touchdowns, you can't argue with the fact that he was able to get over the top and make some big plays. I really think that JJ is poised to have a really good year, man, for Carolina. I think he's underrated. And the question, though, is can he become a legitimate wide receiver number 1? Or will it be senior Nate McCullum? Will it be junior Gavin Blackwell, who had a decent bowl game? Junior Kobe Paysauer, who, if he could stay healthy, my man is like arguably the best receiver on Carolina's roster right now. Sophomore Chris Culliver, who a lot of people are really high on. Or is it going to be one of those incoming freshman phenoms like Jordan Shipp or Alex Taylor? The wide receiver room is definitely still extremely deep, man. We are stocked there. Lots of talent, but it's very young and untested talent. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see who emerges out of that room before, during, and after the spring. Somebody has got to stink and take Tez Walker's spot, at least to the best of their ability of being a deep threat. Somebody that can stretch a defense to keep those safeties from, coming downhill and stacking the box. Now, with that being said, let's look at some things to look out for on the defensive side of the ball heading into spring practice. And how can we start this conversation without first readdressing the fact that Coach Mack Brown hired his 3rd defensive coordinator when he brought in the minister of mayhem, Jeff Collins, okay? We're not going to talk about Jeff Collins' stint with Georgia Tech as the head coach. I don't care about that. It's a completely different position than being a defensive coordinator, a play caller, as he likes to call it, obviously. And that guy has had tremendous success as a play caller. There's no disputing that. So I'm really interested to see what Jeff Collins does in spring ball leading up into the spring game. In his interview, he basically said that his defensive concept is a 4-2-5, sometimes a 4-3, but he really wants to be aggressive on early downs to try to create 2nd and 3rd and longs, man, because, that's where your turnovers are in college football when you get those 2nd and 3rd downs that are really long and they make quarterbacks, kind of have to try to make a play. And obviously they're going to be more prone to turning the ball over. So probably going to see a lot more dynamic blitz packages, from the linebackers in the secondary than we did in Coach Chiswick's bend, don't break philosophy, which is going to be really exciting because you're going to see more sacks, I think. You're going to see a lot more aggression. On the flip side of that, you may see a couple more big plays, right? Because you're not playing that soft shell defense and letting people nickel dime you down the field. So I think it's going to be an exciting brand of football, and I'm really interested to see what Coach Collins can do on that defensive side, man. He's already alluded to wanting to rotate more guys on the defensive front to keep him fresh, to build up, that depth, if you will, in case you do, God forbid, have an injury. And I think he's going to be able to effectively do that. It'll be a vast change from what we've seen over the course of the last couple of years, where they've always talked about it, but it just never came to fruition for whatever reason. So as far as the defensive line, we'll start with that. Carolina returns 6'5", 330-pound junior defensive tackle Travis Shaw, which obviously some people know he's kind of in a little bit of a pickle right now. We won't go into too much detail about that. So I don't know what that's going to mean for his availability, if you will. But he does return tentatively right now at 6'5", 330, and he's a 5-star guy, man. 6'4", 290-pound Jahvaree Ritzie on the interior as well. You still got 6'4", 310-pound graduate Kevin Hester Jr. That's a 5-star and 2 really high 4-stars, man, that you have on the interior of your line. That we should be getting really good push, especially if those guys are rotating through. They're staying fresh. We should be getting really good push. Unfortunately, that has not been the case in the last couple of years, man. We're getting like almost no interior push. How about 6'7", 270-pound defensive end Desmond Evans and the butcher himself at 6'2", 265, Kamen Rucker returning on the edge, man. So obviously Kamen is a stud, man. He's a smaller stature guy, but the dude has a stinking high motor. He decided to come back for one more year, and I think he is going to be a force, man. The question is can Des Evans, live up to what we all thought that he would be? It always seems like he's right there, man. And last year he showed a lot more potential, a lot more of that athleticism that we expected from him. But it always just seems like he's just a step late, man. And I don't know if it's because they're going away from him. I don't know what it is, but I'm really interested in watching these guys on the edges. They're both back for one more year, and I hope that Ted Monachino can get these guys to cause absolute stinking havoc, man. That's what I'm looking for, dude. Not to mention, or not to forget, Bo Atkinson on the edge, who's another high motor guy and had some really good plays last year. So that's 6 guys off the jump, bro. On paper, that look like a top ACC defensive line. But far too many of the heels last year, man, got pushed around up front, dude, especially in the interior. So what I'm looking for moving into spring practice and going into that spring game is the Ted Monachino effect. Can he fix these guys in that they can be a formidable pass rush and hold the line on running plays, man? Really looking to see that out of those guys. Moving back to the second level, Power Eccles is going to move over and take over Cedric Gray's spot as the Mike. But the 6', 230-pound sophomore linebacker Amari Campbell is someone that I am really looking forward to watching, man. I love how he plays downhill. I love how he fills the hole. The dude's got a good body for the position. And quite frankly, I have no idea why he didn't get more burn last year, because every time he was in the stinking game, the minimal times that he did, it seems like the kid made some kind of splash play and then was just removed from the game. So I'm really excited to see Amari get a lot more snaps, man. And then you look at the freshmen, Ashton Woods, Caleb Lavalle, and Cade Law coming in, looking to see those guys grow, earn some reps at the linebacker position as well. They're going to get plenty of time to do that during the spring game. And then you move back to the secondary. You got Elijah Huzzy returning, Marcus Allen, Legend Cavazos, Will Hardy, Antavius Stick, Lane. They're all back in the secondary. And obviously Elijah Huzzy was an absolute stinking baller last year. Marcus Allen seemed to literally lock down his side of the field. One of the things that I'm going to be looking for is, can Legend lock down the other side? Or is it Caleb Koss that showed flashes in the bowl game? Does he take over that corner spot on the other side? Because Marcus really did, man. He played extremely well. And if you can get somebody competent on that other side, man, it's going to bode really well for this team. Is it going to be the JUCO transfer? Tyrone Stewart. What about him? Is he going to be able to come over to a Power 5 corner and lock down an ACC receiver like, he played really well back in his JUCO days. It's going to be interesting to watch these guys develop in the spring. And another question is, can the Heels get better play from their safeties? State transfer, Jakeem Harris brings a ton of college experience over to the Heels defense, as much as it's still weird for him to come over here. But hey, what can you do except the kid in the fold, right? He's one of us now. So Stick Lane returns for the Heels. He was a bright spot a lot last year just because I really liked how he would come up and play in the box, man. He's not afraid to be downhill, and I really respect that. Hopefully, DeAndre Boykins, who's another guy that would come up and fill, even though he's a smaller stature guy, a lot like Stick Lane, hopefully he's healthy and he can work himself back into that nickel position or some other place, because DeAndre is a football player. And it was really heartbreaking to see him not be able to play last year, because he really was one of the better guys on the defense back in 2022. So hopefully he'll be healthy, man. And then you got the young guys like Malcolm Ziegler, Zion Ferguson, Ty Adams, Trey Miller, amongst others, man. So really excited to see what the secondary does, man. I really think that with the schedule in place, and the talent that we still have on this roster, that, we should be somewhat excited about this season, man. And, we will see just how much. Well, I guess we won't see just how much necessarily, but we will see, what kind of team this is going to be for all intents and purposes in that spring leading up to the spring game, man. So quarterback play, we have definitely the pieces on the defense. We got the pieces, man, to be a formidable defense. It's just changing the mentality. And if Carolina turns into a team that really tries to control the game by running the football, by running it down your throat, man, that's the kind of football I like, man. I'm not going to lie. First and foremost, I want to win. But I love it when you can't stop me, dude. And so that'll be interesting to see what they do on the offensive side. And can Jeff Collins make this a formidable defense, man? Obviously, I don't expect them to show us cards early in the spring game, but it sure will be interesting to watch, man, how these guys gel. So tell me what you think about this down in the comment section, Tar Heel Nation. What are you looking for spring practice leading up to the spring game? Positions, players, coaching. You got to put it down there, man, so we can hash it out, dude, because it's getting that time, man. It's getting close, and it'll be here before you know it, man. So like I said, comment down in the comment section, like, share, subscribe. It's almost football season. Well, not really. It's basketball season, but it's football season in my mind. Love you, Tar Heel Nation. We'll catch you on the next one, baby.